Kazem is from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, just like Patrick Jerman, and he will give his talk in English. With his case, the seed money approach was a different one. It was not that he would build up a new lecture. It was more that he was very interested in using a specific software in his lecture. In his case, it was a SAP Campus. It was high on demand with the students. They love to get more insights, very practice-oriented insights in how to work with SAP. But it was not just having some fancy software in your course. It was also about how are you going to teach in this manner. And he became an expert, and he's now here to share with us how he approaches digital teaching.
So thanks, Jacqueline, for this very generous introduction. And thanks for giving the opportunity for sharing my experience and the insights from this course. So what I'm trying to do today, as in my presentation, first of all, I will have a very short introduction to the main theme of my course, which is on enterprise digital platforms. And these kind of platforms are actually the foundations of digital transformation. And then after that, I will have a discussion on the pedagogical approach that I used and I applied in this course, and which is basically using a theory-practice-debrief loop in a set of integrated exercises. So the main topic of this discourse is actually about digital transformation. So digital transformation is a topic that almost everyone is talking about these days. And in order to explain what does digital transformation mean to students, I actually use this exercise because it's quite intuitive for students. It touches their daily life experience. So in the past, we had this kind of mom and pop stores in which we have customers that they enter to the shop and they pick up their products, and at the end, probably they also pay by cash. And there's also an owner in the shop that the owner usually just from once in a while looks at the shelves. If there is empty shelf, then picks up the phone and calls the supplier in order to supply some new products and put it in the shelf. But what we see today is a kind of a transformation to new area. It's today's supermarkets like Coop and Migros that we see it often. So still in this kind of case, we go to a physical shop, but we also have the opportunity of self-checkout, or we can have this kind of barcode readers in order to keep track of all the products that we picked up and their prices and stuff. And then finally, once we got the products, everything as a data goes to the system of Migros and Coop, and they keep all of this data in order to keep track of all the products that have been sold. If there is any product out of stock, they can immediately ask from their supplier, so they don't need to physically just look at the shelves, they look at the data. And once this data is accumulated for quite some time, and then they use this data also for forecasting what's going to happen in the future, for example, for designing their promotions and for forecasting the products which are kind of seasonal and stuff. So that's something that we see these days. And there's also another move to the next step. And this photo is taken from a metro station in South Korea. And you see that there is not anymore a physical shop that you enter in, but there is a screen in a metro station, and then you have an application on your phone. Through the application, you just read the barcode and put all the products that you need in your panier, and then at the end, you pay by your credit card, and finally, the retailer sends the product to your door. So this is actually what we mean from digital transformation, for transforming from primarily physical company to a primarily digital company. And this is something somehow a strategic move that most of the organizations are trying to pursue these days. But the major question is, so how we can do this transformation, and what's the major means in order to make this transformation? So one of the fundamental answers to this question is actually to use enterprise digital platforms. And these are actually some extendable code base that are designed and developed on a cloud infrastructure, and on which you can define and develop different modules. So you can see, for example, we have a module on financial management, we can have a module on human resource management, on project management, and the others. And also we can extend these modules. So it's not like that we have only these modules, but we can extend them to some other modules. So in this case, for example, we can ask another company so that this company can have access to this platform and design a new module. And once this new module is designed, then all of them are somehow interrelated and integrated. And this is what we see usually in digital native companies these days, like Galaxus, like Amazon and the others, that once, for example, we ask for a product, then what they do is that the system automatically checks whether or not the product is available on stock. And if not, then they ask from their suppliers. And then once the product is coming, and then customer relationship management is in charge to send the product to the customer. And finally, the financial management part takes care of invoices and everything. And all of this stuff that we see here and all the processes that we see here, they are quite automatic and integrated thanks to enterprise digital platforms. And so what I follow in this course as learning objectives is that, first of all, to introduce to students the main business processes, like we have processes on financial management, on human resources, on project management, supply chain management, and the others. So it's an introduction to all of these processes to students, and also an introduction to how to use enterprise digital platforms in order to automate and also integrate these business processes. And I also try to cover the technologies in development of enterprise digital platforms, and the focus is mainly on cloud computing and mobile technologies. And finally, the objective is to get some hands-on experience with one of the commercially available digital platforms so that they really touch a real system. And this is how the course works. In the very first session of the course, I hire students in a company which is called Almica. And these students are hired as a trainee. And they start the trainee journey from sourcing department. And then they stay in this department for 3 sessions, for 3 weeks. Each week means one exercise. And then once they are done with this department, they go to customer relationship management. Several weeks they stay in this department, and then they go to project management department, stay several weeks in this department as well. And finally, they finish their journey in financial department. So what we usually see in the other courses is that if there are some topics, for each of the topic, there is one case. And so we have several cases. So in this kind of cases, most of the time students, they lose the track of the relation between different topics. What is interesting about this one is that there is only one case. And in this case, we have different exercises. So we have 11 sessions and 11 exercises, each session one exercise. And they go through different exercises in order to touch every single aspect of the company. And the other thing is that these exercises, they are interrelated. This means that they first have to do the sourcing exercise, and then they can do procurement and planning. And once they do procurement and planning, they can move to supply. And this goes on and on until the last exercise, so that once at the very end, they try to create a balance sheet or income statement for the whole organization, they will see the impact of all the activities that they did in the other departments. So it provides them a kind of integrated view of the whole organization. And in terms of time management, I have this course 4 hours per week. So I split it to 2 parts. The first 2 hours is lecture session, and the second 2 hours is lab. In the lecture session, I provide an introduction to management concepts. So what is the business process that we are going to see today? And what are the digital technologies that we can use in order to automate and integrate this business process? And once they are introduced to theory aspect of it, then they will move to lab. And in the lab, they have one exercise that touches all the aspects related to the theory aspect of that very specific session. And throughout the course, what I try to do, I try to somehow manage the course in a kind of a theory practice debriefing loop. And this means that, as I said, each session is split to 2 parts, the lecture part and the lab part. And in the lecture part, so I provide the introduction to the theory part. So what are the management concepts? What are the digital business processes? And introduction to the exercise. So since you are in session 1, so it's introduction to exercise number 1. Then we move to the lab. And they have 2 hours to work on a quite extensive and comprehensive exercise to exercise what we have seen as a theory in the lecture before. And then they are done. Then next week, we start with a debriefing session. So in session 2, we start with a debriefing session. And this debriefing session is a debriefing on exercise number 1. So because most of the time in the practice sessions, the students are so much into the details of technological aspects and the use of the system. But here I try to help them in order to understand what they did this exercise and what was the relation of this exercise to the management concept which was introduced in the session before. So it's kind of the cornerstone of theory-practice link is this debriefing session. And after the debriefing, then I introduced a new theory, which is a new topic. So it's a new management concept, new business process, new exercise. In this case, is exercise number 2. And then we move to the lab to do exercise number 2. And again, in session number 3, I start with debriefing of exercise number 2, and then introduction to theory for exercise number 3, and do exercise number 3. And this goes on and on 11 times, like for 11 exercises. So what is kind of novel, I would say, and interesting is that first, there are 2 types of loops. There are outer loops, so exercises are building on each other. So you have to do this one, and then to go to this one, and then by doing this, you see the integration between different aspects of an organization. This is the outer loop. And also there is an inner loop. So in each of these sessions, you start with the theory and then the practice and debriefing. And then once you understood this, then you move to the other topic. You are made ready for the next topic. And the next topic, again, theory, practice, debriefing. And then again, theory, practice, and debriefing. And it goes on and on 11 times throughout the course. And in order to do the exercises, so as Jacqueline introduced, so here I use SAP Business by Design. So that's kind of an innovative enterprise digital platform, which is offered as a software as a service. So this means that students, in order to access to this system, the only thing that they need is a normal internet and a web browser. And I give them access to a HTTP address with username and password, and then from home or from wherever they can access to the system, and any kind of data that they create, it stays on the cloud. And it has different modules. They see the different modules, and then once they are going through different departments, they are also moving between different modules of a system. And what is also based on the comments and feedback that I got from the students, this system looks nice compared to the other products that we can see in the market. And also the thing is that once they understood this, because at the end they're going to be kind of a master of this system, because they are going to touch every single module of it. And then if they want to learn the other products of SAP, for them it's quite easy. And also I offer them an opportunity to pass the exam for certification. So in collaboration with SAP, I try to give them access to certification exam for free or for little money. And then only if they know the content of the course, they can easily pass the certification, and they get the certification and they can put it in their CV. So since the theme of today is about teaching innovation, so the first question is, what is innovative about this course? So what I can claim is about this theory practice debriefing loop in a set of integrated exercises. So we have this inner loop and outer loop that somehow tries to make sure that the students get every single point, and then they also touch every single aspect of the organization, and also the innovative digital platform that also provides a basis for students to understand the notion and the concept of digital platforms. And the second thing is I never claim that this is a capstone course, but it somehow functions as a capstone course, because we touch different topics that the students, they have seen it in different courses in their management studies, like in supply chain management, marketing, project management, financial accounting, and for sure digital innovation. But the interesting thing about it is the integration between all of them. So if you do something in supply chain, what is the impact on marketing, and vice versa? And the other question is, so what was my contribution in this lecture? So it was not like that since the SAP provides the software, it also provides everything. No. So it's been almost 9 years that I'm developing this course when I was at HSC Lausanne. So my contribution is in the development of the pedagogical approach, this inner loop and outer loop, and also the exercises. it took quite some time to reach some comprehensive exercises that the students can somehow independently do the exercises or understand the concept behind it. It was quite some work, and it was in collaboration with HSG Lausanne. It's still in collaboration with HSG Lausanne. So I have a colleague there, so she's also teaching more or less the same course. And every once in a while, we get together to exchange our experience about the latest round of the course that we had. And the other thing is that I always try to say this very loud, that I'm not promoting SAP whatsoever, but I'm exploiting SAP in this course. So using SAP just as a digital platform to help teaching. And at the same time, I also use this as a kind of occasion to have a good collaboration with SAP. And in the last couple of years, we had very good collaboration with them. We had some SNF projects with students, with PhD students, that they did lots of interviews with SAP in order to study the transition from a product platform to a platform ecosystem, which is a quite new and timely topic. So it's also used for research purposes. And the last thing is that why students like it. I usually get quite interesting comments and feedback from students, for which I'm quite happy. And what I understood is that they really like the idea of blending theory and practice. So what they don't like is a course full of blah blah, and they also don't like a course full of practice without knowing why they are doing that practice. So if there is a blend of two, that you have a theory part and then the practice part and a debriefing loop, in order to just remind them why we are doing these practices, that's quite interesting for them. And here I also provided some proofs why students like it. So the last row shows the overall rating of the course. These are the evaluations from the last 3 rounds. So the first one was quite good, the second one even better, and the last one 60% 3+ and 40% 2+. So it's quite an interesting course for them. But I would like to use this opportunity to thank Teaching Innovation Lab for their outstanding support from day one. Without their support, it would have been impossible to provide this course. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kazem. This is very, very nice of you that that you give your thanks to us. In this case, we couldn't help much, but we made this course possible because we really want to help professors that have a great, interesting idea on how they are going to teach. And of course, there was a discussion on is it right just to buy a software, to invest money there? I mean, if every professor would want to have a software in his course, we couldn't afford it. But I think you can clearly see that in this course, it makes perfect sense, and it couldn't be done without the platform. So we thought it's a good investment for the students, and certainly a good investment for the University of St. Gallen to have such a dedicated professor like you.